Okay, well, I'm here now with Ali House, the author of many different books. She's written The Sixth Elemental and its sequel, The Fifth Queen, both sci-fi dystopian novels. She's got a book of short stories out called The Light Bulb Forest, which is every genre imaginable and the best of every genre imaginable. She's been in every From the Rock book to date, as well as I think every open call book call of engine anthology submissions ever. Stutter. Stutter. And most recently Terra Nova, which went bestseller right before it came out. When we want that to happen, we put Ali in the collection. It usually happens. um but today we're here to talk about her next novel, which is coming out in early 2021, that futuristic sounding year that is happening in a few months from now.
Oh,
um
don't say that.
I know. Yeah, no, we're it's 2021 is only 3 months away, so that's fun. Yeah, but it's called Variety Show, and it's an interesting departure for Allie. But I wanted to ask her about it as part of our look into the upcoming titles from Engen Books as a part of Engen Con. So Allie, hi, thanks for joining us.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Excellent, excellent. So tell me, what is Variety Show about?
So basically, it's kind of a continuation of Jacobi Street.
Oh, I
Um,
know that book.
it's about a little theater troupe that's an independent theater troupe who kind of have the benefactor finance what they do, and they're putting on a show, which is Phantom of the Opera. And some weird stuff starts happening. So, they kind of have to figure out what's going on.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually am just starting reading it now, but it's interesting that you did Phantom of the Opera. You just sent in the draft of it. So like for those who are like, what do you mean you haven't read it yet? It's Ali. We know it's going to be wonderful. But yeah, no, that's I'm reading it now, but it's interesting to know that it's Phantom because we touched on Phantom mythology a lot in Jacobi Street and the monster we in it we implied that it was the Phantom, like from that. So I'm assuming that that had a part to play in the choice of um, what play was going to be put on in variety show.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that it influenced me because there was a lot of emphasis on Phantom of the Opera, the opera house in Paris, and it just kind of makes sense when you're doing a scary story in a theater. Phantom.
Yeah, got to go with Phantom. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Have you seen Phantom of the Mall?
No, I have not, but
You
I have
should.
heard of
You should. It's a cinematic classic. It needs to be watched. So the lead character of this is different from Jacoby Street. You're basically taking the idea of it and the cliffhanger ending from Jacoby Street and running with it. And so the threat continues, but the characters, to my knowledge, do not. You've got a new main character in Wendy. Can you tell me who she is and tell me a little bit about her?
So she is a relatively new inhabitant of Jacoby Street. She's probably only about 6 months there. And she is the newest member of the troupe. So she joined as an actor and probably wasn't that good when she first started out, but got better over time. So she really, really, really wants to play the part of Christine, which is like, any young woman would want to. And the story is mostly told through her eyes and how she observes it, but there are moments where you get to know the other characters a little bit better and kind of see what's going on.
Awesome. That sounds really fun. That's kind of like I mean, that idea of like a point of view character that's new to a situation, so they can learn about it as the reader does. That's really helpful in literature.
Yes.
Long
Is that
pause.
a
Yeah,
question?
that I think statement, I guess. Yeah, peek behind the curtain kind of thing. Like this is a writing series. Like it's for writers as well as for like people who are interested in the books and stuff like that. So having a point of view character that is also new to the situation, so when they get stuff explained to them, that's the reader does too. That's helpful. That's a
Yeah,
helpful
so
thing.
everything's kind of still new to her as
Mhm.
opposed to it being new to everybody else. So she's still kind of learning where it is and like what this street is like, and gotten has just kind of started to get familiar with everything when suddenly it changes.
Things starts to go wrong.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. I'm really looking forward to digging into that. I think it's going to be amazing. And you'll all know if it's not, because, we'll quietly remove this video. No, we won't. It's going to be amazing.
No, you'll know it's not because the book will never come out.
Our book's going to be wonderful. I can't wait. Um, so what made you decide to write this book?
Well, basically, you sent me Jacobi Street and asked me to read it and give a blurb. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. Like, it was just so artsy and nerdy and a real, like, fun, quick read.
And you'd
And
never think
then
it was written by me, right?
I know, like, what happened?
I
Um,
know.
I think you should write more books out of spite.
Yeah.
Um, So basically, at the end of that book, there's a scene in a theater, and you had mentioned that you wanted to do like a second book that was in that theater or involved that theater. And then I basically just ripped it away from you and said, it's mine now because I have a degree in theater. I've worked in theater and I've acted. I've been involved in theater for a really long time. So I was like, it's mine.
I
I
don't
want to
think you
write that book.
stole it. I don't think you stole it. I don't think I would have ever written it. I think it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this would be a cool thing to do, and it never would have happened. But like, I think what's really interesting is there was a time way back when Engine started when we had this idea where it was like, first it was like the From the Rock books, and like, oh, well, if you write really good short stories and we like working with you, then you'll get a novella, like, kind of thing. And the idea was that like you would graduate from short fiction and then write a novella in the Engen universe. We were trying at the first to get everyone to contribute something, and then once you wrote a novel or two in the Engen universe, you like would just get to go, and like you've proven that, like, people have interest in your work and stuff like that, you could just go and do it. So it was always our dream to have other people interested in writing stories that took place like in the universe, and it never worked out. Like, people were like, ooh, no, that's gross. I want to write my own stuff. Why would I want to write your stuff? You're dumb. And it never worked out, so eventually we gave up around the time Amanda Levante came on, because we published Call of the Sea and stuff like that, and the Sixth Elemental, and just started to go like the more traditional route of publishing. You know what I mean? And after a few years, then we hadn't really thought of it then, but now it's like everyone that writes for us is like, you know what I want to work on next? An Engen Universe novel, and we were like, oh, that's still a thing. Oh crap! So like this year, it's yours, Matt Daniels, Aaron Vance, Paul's expressed interest, Amanda's expressed interest. Like, it's all just like Engen Universe stuff all of a sudden, which is bizarre. But yeah, no, the second you expressed any interest, especially because you had been talking about it and you said that you were like, you wanted to give me pointers because you hated when you've read stuff about theaters and it wasn't accurate, like it drove you insane because you knew all about it. And I was like, just you do it then. That sounds easier. You do it.
Yeah, I mean, I recall you basically just like handing it over to me, and I mean, I just, you don't read stories about theater usually when it's from the point of view of an actor. You just see like rehearsals, but you don't see, like someone spiking the floor or a cue to cue or a dress rehearsal or fittings or anything like that. So there's a lot that goes on within the theater that most people don't necessarily know about or they're just not as interested in. And
Okay.
so because you went like full art geek in Jacobi Street, I kind of went full theater geek in the variety show.
I like it.
And it was
I
great.
like it. That sounds great. That sounds like I'm really gonna enjoy this. What's a Q to Q?
Q to Q is basically when you run the show, but you run it from one queue to the next. So someone will give like a cue line, and then they'll run the lighting change, or they'll run an entrance. And then you skip over all the parts of the show where you don't have any other cues. So you're just running one cue to the next, to the next, to the next, to figure out when it goes, where it goes best, how fast it should be. It's a really long, grueling day, or days, depending on the show, but it's very important in making sure the show is perfect when you're getting it up and running.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Um, so what was it like to write inside the Engen universe? I was asking this of Aaron Vance earlier, but now it's your turn, as opposed to writing your own stuff, I guess.
Um, Writing in almost anyone else's universe is sometimes a little daunting because I'm always afraid I'm going to get it wrong. And as I recall, the last time you asked me to write in the Engen universe, you thought I'd deliver something that was light and fluffy, and I gave you like something really horrible, horrifying.
That's in Light Bulb Forest. Yeah, it was
It
wonderful.
is in Lipo Forest, the inevitable.
Yeah.
Um, so with this one, it was almost a little easier because it was all I had to do was focus on Jacobi Street. So it was just that one street that I had to concentrate on instead of like, I don't know, the 300 novels you've written. So
Only that's like 30, so don't, yeah. Shoosh.
yeah, so it was easy. It was easier in that way, but also Jacobi Street is just so quirky and weird that I kind of like just got to run with it, and it was fun that I got to make up stuff, which you can't stop me from doing.
No, God,
So
no. No, why would I? No, that sounds really fun. That sounds amazing. Any spoilers for things that happen in variety shows?
um, I mean, it doesn't necessarily like there are things that aren't nice. There are some
Okay.
things that are. It's a theater, so there's a lot of different people. There's people in the LGBTQ plus area. So
That
I
makes
mean, as
sense.
much as I didn't want to like bury my gays trope, sometimes if you have some people die and you're in a theater, like,
That's fair. That's fair. And yeah, no, the that was a trope I wasn't aware of when I wrote Jacobi Street. Spoilers for people who haven't read Jacobi Street, but it's been 3 years. What have you been doing with your life? But yeah, no, I wasn't aware of that one, and might have stumbled into it at one point and learned about it afterwards, sadly. But
yeah, I mean, I tried to make sure that at least some of my gays lived. So
that's fair. Okay. Awesome. Well, I like that you're continuing like having it involve people from that community too, because that also kind of continues the thread from Jacoby Street. So that's cool. I cannot wait to dig into that properly.
yeah, and I mean, it's honestly, the theater community that I've been involved in is very, to some degree, it's open in some ways. So you get a lot of people who are LGBTQ plus. There's non-binary. You just kind of, you tend to be open and grow with it, and it's really nice because
Good.
you want it to be a community. So you want to. I'm gonna flub this answer so bad. But do I sound like I know what I'm talking about?
Never, never
Never
once.
once. But yeah, sometimes I tend to write in an idealized world where, people are nice to one another and nobody's a jerk about things and people can be happy and, so, but I mean, there's definitely parent issues. So, eh. But there
Makes
were
sense.
some in Jacobi Street, so I'm just continuing your trend.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this interview, Ali. Everyone, keep an eye out for Variety Show, which will be on shelves in early 2021, and check out Ali's previous stuff, including the Light Bulb Forest, which came out in early 2020, right before lockdown started. So
It is not my fault.
it is not your fault, but it did not. As a result, it didn't get some of the attention I think it deserved. So check that out if you haven't already, because the news was dominated away from books for a little while,
Just a little.
just a little. Anyway, thank you so much again, Ali. Anything else you'd like to say before I let you go?
Um, Oh dear God.
Okay, that'll do. That'll do.
Watch
Yeah.
stuff. Read things. Books are good. Books are cool.
All right. Sounds good. Have a great day, Allie.
You too.